Welcome back, YouTube. As you can see, a little change of scenery here. Just got back from the Triple Crown of Rodding and had to go run some errands this morning. Stopped by my buddy's shop. I'm going to show you what a little progress, like what we got going on our little personal projects here. And we'll give you a little sneak peek of what some of the cool stuff he has. We're going to do a full actual shop tour thing when we pick it up, but just a little sneak peek. You know it's a cool shop when they have a square body ramp and a sweet K10 on, I don't know, at least 37s. Yeah, let's see what we got inside. Goodness, hey buddy. You know it's a good shop when they have an orange cat hanging out. That's my buddy right here. Here we are, Victory Fabrications. My buddy Cody Puckett.
Hey.
We're checking out the progress. He's putting together a sweet little roll bar for us here. Just in the area, stopped in to check it out. He's got a really sweet setup here with a bunch of awesome things. I mean, we'll talk about this. We're going to do a full shop deal, but just want to give you a little update. A little change of scenery today. And some new friends.
Shop cat's holding it down.
Yeah. All right, made it back here to the shop. Got all those errands taken care of. As you can see, Blazer's back after the show. Filthy dirty, but we'll worry about that later. Exciting part, NAS truck is up in the air for the first time. At least first time since I've had it. It's got a lot of things it still needs, but first thing we're going to tackle is pulling the transmission out. Looks like it'll be fairly simple. Being race car parts, 4 bolts on the case. Well, actually, after take care of the shifter, the drive shaft, and the clutch line, which is a dry brake. That's pretty cool. Get all that and pull the trans out. The reason we're pulling the trans out is this thing has this itty bitty like 5-inch triple disc clutch, something way aggressive. I mean, you have to almost put it on the chip, dump the clutch to get the truck to move without stalling. It's got its purpose. Well, in its previous life, that was great because you were just going around the circle track. If this thing, if we're going to end up driving it on the street, you don't want to be doing that at red lights. My luck, the first time I pull up to a light, there'll be a cop. That'll be an ordeal. We're going to go back and put a standard size, 11 and a half or whatever that. Andrew's got the part numbers. My job, got to pull it out, count the splines, make sure we get the right one, get those parts coming. With the hood off and the wheels off, we can get a little better look at what's going on here, what we need, what we don't have to have, and just kind of figure it out as we go. I'm not 100% sure who made this chassis. If I had an idea, then I could look and research and see how all this is supposed to be shaped, but I have no idea who made this. Looking up online, golly, everybody has different opinions and pictures of how all this is supposed to be constructed. I'm just going to wing it. There is kind of no right or wrong, as long as we have provision for radiator, sway bar, mount the front end. Yeah, I'm just going to make it up as I go. Frame rails here are 2x3 box, and we can see here, I'm guessing this was Andrew. I don't really remember. I never actually looked under the hood of this thing before it was wrecked, but someone has plated this with some gussets. We'll call that scrap metal there a gusset. All this needs to go away. It's right here at the sway bar, or excuse me, the AR mount. That's got to be cleaned up and addressed. And there's no sway bar provision. This is just kind of floating off in Never Never Land. Got to do something with mounting that there. And it had a tube right here that I most likely went down to here. It's got to have something. This has to be triangulated, because if you look, this shock, this coilover, is just going to be pushing up on that. And with all the leverage here, I just don't believe that's ever going to work. The original plan here, this is what I'm going to wing. I'm going to cut this off, cut this cap off, probably Z this rail back. We'll see what it looks like when I get all this cut apart. I'm going to build, I've got some box tubing, some 120 wall, build it out to here-ish with a cross tube, and then a removable flange to put a bash bar on the front, maybe. To be honest with you, I've been standing here staring at this for like almost an hour. I've consulted Taylor. I've looked at pictures. Between looking at it for an hour and probably an hour researching online, I'm just going to hack it off. There's nothing here to go by. There's nothing here to confuse me. Cut it all off. Let's start from scratch. I don't know what everyone else is using for Sawzall blades. I've tried a few different ones. I'll tell you, these Lennox Demo Wolf, they're not the one. The Diablos, I think, are the best. What's everyone else using for Sawzall blades? I think this is a too hot to touch. Well, maybe a 10 teeth per inch. Doesn't work very well. Feels so much better to get all that old tubing cut off, just cleaned out of the way for a nice clean slate to kind of figure it out as I go. You know, fabrication on the fly. It's kind of what we do around here. All this old mess out of the way. Take a look at what we got left. Nice clean slate to work with. You can see here I stepped back the side of the frame. Two reasons. One, because this was kind of bubbled out here from the impact. Got rid of all that to nice flat metal. Reason number two is this is just a representation. Imagine this is the end of the frame. If we just took another tube, butted it up straight against it and welded the perimeter, it would be strong, but not as strong as if we Z'd it back, U'd it back, whatever we want to call this right here. Stepping it back makes it no longer one solid plane, so it gives it a little bit of extra strength. Now ideally we would have done it on the opposing side as well, whether it be this side, this side, this side, this side, but there's so much going on here with the upper control arm mount, the the center like motor cross member right here. There's so much going on, I really couldn't do the other side, but the fact that this steps up actually let me create a third plane. We got some 2x3 120 wall. You can see we'll go in there just like that. We'll weld that guy up, square it up. Obviously you can see all our edges are beveled very nicely to give us the most weld penetration we can have. All the corners are rounded so I can really just bury the weld in there to make it nice and strong. As you can see on this side, already got her clamped up, ready to weld. Like we talked about, nice deep bevels all the way around. And what I've done here is take a piece of 3/16 angle, clamped it to our new tube. You can see our clamp back here on the old part of the tube. That way we can guarantee the side of this thing will be dead straight that way. First measurement. Second measurement is from the bottom of the tube to the ground, then the bottom of the existing frame to the ground. Make sure we got that right in a couple different points. And then we throw us a little angle gauge on here. And that way we can look, let's see if we can read it here. Now these things are really, really sensitive. Looks like it's pointed up, depending on how you set it on here, between well, now it's changing around on me. Looks like 0.6, 0.7, and then we'll go to a nice flat spot on the frame. If we can even get a camera up in there, we'll see right there, 0.7. So we know that the angle of our tube is the same as the angle of the pre-existing frame rail. So this plane should be flat. The angle iron will keep us flat on this plane. All we need to do now, tack up the corners. We'll go around, tack. We'll probably make 1, 2 welds before we ever take the angle iron off. Then we'll be good to go. We'll catch up this side when I get my angle iron back, because that's the only piece I have at the moment. When I get all this tacked and welded, we'll go back on this side, tack and weld that, full weld both. Then we have to explore our cross member. Somehow we have to tie the sway bar into this. I've got an idea. I think I might have to go to the metal store for a couple more pieces, but you get the gist of it. Now, my favorite time, Let's break out the metal hot glue gun, aka the MIG welder, and let's just blaze this thing together. With the rails tacked up, put our crossbar in here. This is 1.5 inch, 120 wall. Originally I was going to go rec tube, like 2x3 like the rest of the front end. And that's the way I'm pretty sure it was before, because after looking up these chassis, or at least what I think they are, that's what they had. But I contacted my friend Scott Davison, old school circle track genius chassis builder. He suggested to go with the round for radiator clearance, radiator hose clearance, all those good reasons that I didn't think of. So that's why I got that. While we were chopping up round tube, came up with these little guys, just simple little cope at the top, angle cut at the bottom. As you can see, that'll triangulate the front of this upper bar here so that our coilover won't try to bend it out of the way. Got one for the passenger side, and knocked out one for the driver. Yep. And yeah, so let's get those tacked in. And for whatever reason, I'm going to slightly overcomplicate this. Truth is, I love overcomplicating stuff like this. The front of this truck could absolutely be completely fixed. By that I mean non-removable. The bash bar or the front crash structure doesn't have to come off of this. If we're being honest, if this thing ever gets crashed to the point it needs a bash bar front end, we're probably just going to cry ourselves to sleep and forget this project ever existed. But I just want to do it. I don't know why. I feel like it's the way it needs to be done, because it's the way it's done on real race cars. My solution to that is to cap the end of the rail with just a simple little 4x4 plate. Now I picked these up from our local steel company. These are, I think they're just made for gate posts. They're 4x4 with the holes pre-drilled. They, well, if I can get them, all the holes line up. So the plan is to weld one side on the end of the frame, and then the other side, that'll go on the end of our crash structure. Line square these up, give them a nice tack our bars here, and finally get to do some welding. Everything tacked up, took the upper control arms loose, obviously the tires back off to get us good clearance around here. Let's sew it up. A whole bunch of welding later, and here we go. Finished product, looking sweet. Had the old welder, she was tuned up and humming today. Looking good. On the side here, where we had the joint, I ground that flat, put us a nice little diamond fish plate in there. Looking pretty cool. All that's welded on. Yeah, all in all, not a bad day's work. Tomorrow we'll be back at it, putting the front clip on, making that removable for whatever reason. Yeah, we're gonna call that a day. Short day today, but gonna knock a couple little projects out, or at least one. With the theory or the concept of moving from the back forward, I'll show you the next little thing where we got our eyes on here. Mounting the fender, or what's left of it here. Luckily, under here is the factory mounting point, so that's good, but down here, we got to do something with this. Rolling down the back stretch of Road Atlanta, about $120, $125. Yeah, I think it's just going to be blowing in the wind. Got to figure out a way to secure it, but it's a little tricky. Reason being, the inner structure here has long since separated from the outside of the fender, as you can see. And I mean, there's not a lot of the outer left. You can literally see how much body filler has been squidged through there in its life. That looks terrible. This is the passenger side. What I came up with was just a real simple 1/2x1/2 square tube, and drilled and tapped the chassis right here for 1/4 20 in the inner brace, and that is tied together with this little 1/8 inch bracket I made here, 1 inch wide strap. Just bend it up to the contour so that I could tie in the inner brace and the outer fender, and put us a little button stainless guy there. Yeah, now, yeah, she's sturdy. Should be good to go. All right, I have the front clip here flipped up. Kind of get, I don't know, just kind of brainstorming on how I'm going to mount all this. And you can see how it was mounted before. I had what I'm only assuming is the factory little crash bar that Andrew welded. Andrew welded those. And they tied into here and there. I'm not sure what he had going on up here. I don't know, never really asked him about that part. I think I'm going to use this same general concept, except for, maybe actually square it up to the front end. I'm going to extend the ends over. I would just bend another one of these pipes if I had a pipe bender. And we have this piece, so I'm thinking we'll just cut these off, cut this off, and this being 1 3/4, 1.5 pipe will slide right in. We'll either reuse this section, extend it over, and then we'll use one of these holes right here to pick up an extra mounting tab. Have it extra secure. First things first, we got to field dress all this down. After lots of pondering, even more cutting, even more grinding, this is what I came up with. Like we talked about, trimmed off all the old stuff from this main bar. We extended it out 12.5 inches on each side. Get a little more side protection here. It was already tied in here before. I like that to keep the top strong, because something up here is going to have to hold the hood at some point. Keep that strong. And also left the possibility to tie it in here. If we put everything together and this corner seems floppy, I can tie it in here. Or maybe this gets tied into the hood pin thing. That's where it's going to get tricky. He doesn't want exposed hood pins, but everywhere, like the whole under edge of the hood, it's rotten. Gonna have to get creative there. As you can see, we added a full lower bar here as well, tied together to the gravel pan with some nice 3/8 hardware. Didn't have a bender, so we just cut it, weld it. It's fine. It's going to work really well for what we're doing. You can see right here, right where the stand is, it's got this cutout in the gravel pan. That's where the factory frame rail would have went past the gravel pan and bolted up to the bumper. Or maybe the bumper brackets went through there. I don't remember. I didn't take this truck apart. Either way, that's access to tie the factory front bumper to the factory frame. Andrew's talked about putting a factory front bumper on. With that being said, I left the opening, or I put the lower bar close to the opening and tied it together with the vertical right there at that point. If we end up going through there with some kind of bracket, it'll be super strong. Be our best bet. Now we got to get this down, wheels on. We're going to set it on our cribbing blocks. Try to set this up in place. Try to take old Floppy McFlopperson hood here. Get it set up there. Because the tricky part now is this is a freestanding piece, totally separate from that. We have to line all this up. And the hardest part is going to be getting old Grumpy Taylor next door to come over here and lend me a hand. Probably have to bribe him with some pizza or something. We worked ahead here a little bit, but to catch you up real quick, kind of give you a rundown of how we lined all this up. With the hood on, we were able to look at this body line here, check that out, line up what's left of the fender back there to what's left of the fender up here. We looked at the angle of the front clip, and then with the back of the hood lined up, we could kind of see where, when this truck was stock, where the hood sat before, lined it up, made a nice solid gap across the front, made sure everything looked good. Well, as good as it can is so cattywampus's chassis was, but that's beside the point. Up on the cribbing blocks, like we discussed, and about, 100 times climbing up under it with the hood on and the front clip teetering with 2 jack stands, was able to get us a couple little bars made. Super simple. 1 bar going to the upper, 1 bar going to the lower. Just tied in together here so they not only meet the plate, but they tie into each other as well. That's going to be plenty strong for what we're doing. Got this side upper, and I actually went ahead and notched the lower as well. But as you can see, I'm in some at least halfway decent clothes, and I ran out of time. Got a friend that's getting married, and his bachelor party this weekend, so got to go celebrate with him. Every time I weld, I like to wait 1 hour before I leave. And it's just because in my head that if you wait an hour after you weld, if there's any embers or little sparks or anything anywhere that has gone and is maybe smoldering or, working on a fire, if they haven't started in an hour, they're probably not going to. That's my 1 hour rule. Am I being overly paranoid? Maybe. But I've also heard about people welding, walking away and coming back to a burnt down shop or a burnt car. And no. I'd rather just spend the extra hour. I don't have that hour today. That too will get welded in Monday. With all that being said, we had a really good week considering every day this week was like a half day basically. It's part of it. It's part of being self-employed. It's part of running a business. You're going to have to spend half a day here running errands, half a day there, picking stuff up, dropping stuff off. It's just part of it. It's unfortunate when all those half a days line up one after another. It's just part of it though. Hey, I love it. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I get to work on these really cool cars. I get to entertain and educate you guys. Hey, it's a win-win. Thanks for sticking around. Like, share, subscribe. We'll be back next week picking up the courier from Cody's Monday. Back on that, finishing the last fab projects. I'm getting real excited. Anyway, we'll see you.